When we have those on file, we do annual action plans that are affiliated with that, and usually, not usually, it does go towards receiving various grants and things like that. So it's really important to have those online, not just for the grants, but it really helps us as an organization and as a group kind of make sure we're all headed in the same direction. Laura Dede, you have our board in front of you. We have Kathy Pop, who's our chair, Patrick Egan, who's our vice chair, Cherry Dubois, who's a longtime trustee, and Andrew Gregory, who's a brand new trustee. And we're hoping that Monette Verrier will be able to join us online. We have one more trustee, Andrew Grimes, who's not able to join us this evening. And also, Megan and Michelle, and that's pretty much.
Yes. Well, thank you. It's nice to see some of you again and virtually meet some of the trustees as well. So I'm going to share my screen, and can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just take you through, present to you the Reading Public Library Strategic Plan for fiscal years 2026 to 2030. But I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of how this plan was constructed, and then we'll kind of get into the details of the plan as well. So as Amy said, I am formerly of MBLC, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. I also worked at the Robbins Library in Arlington, Massachusetts, and Weymouth Public Libraries, where I was engaged in strategic planning at both of those, and now have my own consultancy, local librarian consulting. And so I was very thankful for this opportunity to work with such a great community in Reading and a really incredible library team to really think critically about what the needs are of the community and where the library has impact. So, let me see. So, the team members who helped with this include Michelle, Amy, Olivia McElwain, Jamie Penny, and Trustee Monette Vivier. So these folks help. We had some meetings on our own. We talked about the data, went through several drafts of the plan, doing some line by line edits, but taking a look at the goals, thinking about what was there, what was missing. So their input has been really valuable throughout this process, and I really appreciate their contributions as well. So we started this process really got started in April with a lot of the background research and some meetings with that strategic planning committee. And I'm not gonna get too much in the background research right now, but on my next slide, we're gonna go into a little bit more detail about that. And I think this background research really made this process unique because there was so much rich data already available in Reading. So oftentimes a strategic planning process will do a community survey that's library specific. But that didn't happen this time because there was already really rich data sets out there that could be drawn upon to think about what the needs and aspirations are for the community. So kind of looking at that data, analyzing it, what were the common themes, using that, going into community engagement in May. So we had 2 staff retreats on site. So these were all on site. And I think it really shows the strong investment that Reading had in in-person engagement, which is really rich. And just allows for like relationship building. I really appreciated being on site. It gave me an opportunity to just walk around the library and have casual conversations with the staff, get a sense of the energy for the library. I had an opportunity to sit in on like a tween event. So it just kind of gave me a feel for the energy and the kind of professionalism and the level of service that Reading provides. And I already knew Reading provides by just looking at the data that gets submitted and just what I know about the library, but being able to see things firsthand, I found really valuable. So I really appreciated that investment in that engagement. So we had 2 staff retreats. So went through exercises with the staff, various visioning exercises, a SOAR exercise, some mission statement work. We did 4 focus groups, and those were detailed in the plan with older adults, pair, multi-language learning, and I am forgetting one. Sorry, I should know this at the top of my head. Let's see. Older adults, and municipal stakeholders were part of our interviewing process. So then our stakeholder interviews were with both trustees, some of which are in this room, and municipal stakeholders. And these were just really, really valuable, really rich, high quality information gathering sessions. So after that, I took all my notes and all the Post-it boards with, the large Post-its with small Post-its, and hung them around my home office, and really started to analyze that data and see where those themes are emerging and how that fit in with the data that we had from the background research. And then so that brought us into June with plan drafting, development, and revisions. And then July, continued revisions, and now the presentation of the strategic plan. So for data sources, there was already, I think, in initial conversations with Amy, just drew on that there was already so much surveying happening in the Reading community. And we all know sometimes there can be a little bit of survey fatigue. So we collected all of those surveys and analyzed them. So some of those data sources include the ARPA priorities that the municipality survey that they issued, housing, the library landscape survey, various library surveys, Simmons Way about land use. The DEI assessment that the library was a big partner in was really a valuable data set with the recommendations that those consultants had made. And we worked to make sure some of those were included in the strategic plan as well. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey, Reimagine Reading Survey, and then a Recalc survey. So quite a few that were already out there. And one of the things, just reflecting on that, is that I think this is really, these surveys are all asking for people's aspirations and concerns. And these are incredibly valuable for the library to look at, because it's an opportunity to kind of hear what the community is looking for, and where do those things intersect with the library's ability to have an impact and have an influence in these areas. So I really commend Amy and the team for looking outward to collect all of that data, because I think it really reflects a lot of the community's needs. So I thought I would share with you all some of the top priorities regarding the quality of life in Reading and the emerging themes, and you'll probably see these within the plan as well. So recreation and culture was really important. So people's just ability to enjoy things, attend cultural events, have fun. That having fun also intersects with open space and enjoying the outdoors. Town buildings and accessibility came up in multiple of these surveys, of course, especially in the Recalc survey, thinking about a new senior center or community center, whatever that kind of combination may look like down the road. But the point of being that the buildings in Reading are have accessibility issues. The library, however, with its recent renovation, was often called out as, except for the library being incredibly accessible. Opportunities to age in place came across in several of the surveys, and this was also reflected in our focus group with older adults, of just thinking about opportunities to stay engaged in the community, to have connecting back to recreation and culture, intergenerational opportunities as well, or volunteer opportunities, and providing like service to the community of being part of the community, which also connects with community gathering spaces and socialization. One of the recommendations that was in the DEI reporting was that diversity is necessary for representative government and inclusion efforts to ensure success. So ensuring that, so you'll see this reflected in the plan of thinking about having a staff and board that is reflected of the library users, that is diverse, as and reflecting the diversity within the community and library users. Community-based organizations, this was another recommendation from the DEI report. So it was an opportunity to engage with groups doing work in Reading on various issues or topics or populations, but leveraging them within the municipality to draw more people into civics or engagement or programming, maybe recreation and culture events. So leveraging those relationships, and I think that you'll see that one reflected in the plan as well. TGD and students of color at risk for bullying and mental health incidences. So TGD stands for transgender and gender diverse, as this was defined in the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So these youth were significantly more likely to report that their mental health wasn't good, that they were feeling stressed, sad, hopeless, and on a continuum of mental health to suicide, ideation, and suicide. So we, the library has such a strong commitment to inclusion, into supporting LGBTQ community members in the library, and ensuring collections and programming is reflective to that. So continuing that. And then support for multi-language learning students and families. And I think this theme, and one of the examples of the goals I'll show you is strongly reflected as well. And so, you know, what does this all mean in the end is having a sense of belonging in the community, and how important that is for residents and folks to feel like they're belong to the community, they're valued, and ensuring that they can have that experience at the library as well. Are there any questions thus far about the process?
Be good.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about how this planning process looked a little bit different. So in initial conversations with Amy, you know, at the start of the engagement, that the last plan, like a very good New England house, has really good bones. That the framework was really good, the structure was really good. There was the strategic priorities are sort of evergreen. So what are the opportunities to think about new goals to go underneath that? So in this, so your framework of your strategic plan, we have our mission, core values, and vision. So the mission is new, and we'll take a look at that, and that helps answer the question why we do what we do, and our core values. What are our guiding principles? In our vision, what is our ambitious aspirations for the Reading community are the same from the last plan. And then so the strategic plan elements, those are those strategic priorities which are carrying over from the last plan. So what we developed were new goals to go under that. So how we will support, how Reading Public Library will support those strategic priorities, and then action items, which are really more details about initiatives and actual projects that will help achieve those goals, to achieve those strategic priorities. So to give you a sense of what's new and what's been, to keep with the house analogy, what's been renovated and what we're keeping for this new plan. So one of the new things, which I think is really exciting, is the new mission statement. And so this came out of exercises we did at the staff retreats. And I think there was a lot of interest in a new mission statement that was shorter, had more simple language, and I think a simpler language, less like library jargon language, also reflects one of the core values of access. So, it can be readable and hopefully understood by even more community members. So throughout the exercises we did around a mission statement, and even from focus groups and interviews, some of the common threads included the words connect, welcome, and engage. So we thought that these words were very important to include in our mission statement. So the tagline, building community, creating connections, can be used in marketing materials and when discussing the library and the community. And what we think that this really works is that it's about building community. So I think it connects the idea of library as space and place, one of those strategic priorities, and brings that through programming and partnerships that can help build community and bring community together in the building. And creating connections is multi-pronged. I really think of this almost like a bike wheel. So library staff are helping create connections to information, for books, for entertainment, and for fun, information for enrichment. And connections also works in thinking about how we connect to technology and the internet as well, and how we get onto the internet and access all of the digital information that's available as well. And most importantly, those connections to each other as well, so that belonging. And then our mission statement, Reading Public Library's mission is to connect all people with opportunities to grow and learn, and to provide resources to support a welcoming and engaged community. So this is reflecting the values of all people in the community, with opportunities to grow and learn. So whether that is through collections, print and digital, programming, through services, through partnerships, there's opportunities that this is a place for engagement, for learning, for creating new connections. And the resources help support a welcoming and engaged community. One of the assets I think about Reading is that it has such a high, and the folks that we spoke to, civic-minded investment in the community, whether involved with municipal government or community-based organizations. People are really passionate about doing good work in the community to help improve the quality of life for folks. And the library connects with that by providing those resources and helping foster that within people to be able to provide that, outside of the library building. So, ta-da! Your new mission statement. So one thing I thought we could do is I might just walk you through, just to give you a little bit more information about how kind of the process worked, by kind of giving you a peek behind the scenes with how one of these goals was developed. So this is under customer convenience and personalization. So the goal is to expand collections and access for multi-language residents. So when we think of a goal as well, we want to, when writing these, really thinking about how this is going to impact multiple departments and what their influence could be. And some of the action items underneath may be a little bit more specific, but the goals are written in a way that every department has an opportunity to engage with the success of this goal. So with this one, expanding collections and access for multi-language residents, this really came out a lot in our staff sessions as well, and within several points of community engagement, focus groups, and interviews. But I heard from from those folks about the need to support multi-language residents. So that is a diverse group of speakers at various literacy levels and needs. So about 11% of residents in Reading speak a language other than English at home. So the objectives reflect on the need to build collections, which is, of course, a core library service that reflect the needs of the community. So when we were doing part of the exercise is to think about what will success look like. Well, how will we know when these goals are realized? Staff reflected on, the importance of building collections that are originally published, say in Spanish or in Chinese or Arabic, materials that are natively published in those language, as well as what's important is also maybe translations of popular books like Lessons in Chemistry or that Front Desk series by Kelly Yang or Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So making sure the collections are really becoming robust. And this can also cross all ages and material types. I think this one with thinking about customer personalization and convenience is that it also supports folks in the community who are language learning as well, so they can find materials to support their growth in learning a new language. Also connected with multi-language residents, thinking about folks in the community who are learning English or working on improving their proficiency. So ensuring that we're supporting, the library is supporting residents who are looking to support their own English language learning goals as well. And then our middle objective here, advocate to the library network, is a little bit work that we'll be doing up, but this is really about the ability for folks to find materials is so critical and important. So making sure our integrated library system, folks are able to find the materials through cataloging and technology, and even supporting non-Roman character sets. So that one is not so much quite with the impact that Reading Public Library can have, but an opportunity, the scaffolding that if we're trying to expand collections and access, thinking about the findability of books within the catalog is really important as well. And I'm glad that Amy talked about when she was doing the introduction, talking about goals. And one of the things we looked at throughout the goal was thinking about making sure we're talking about funding, because this is very critical for advocating at the municipal level for funding, as well as state funding, or if the library is looking to pursue grants outside the library as well. So I can bring up I'm not sure if folks had a chance to look at the plan that was sent. So let me bring that up for you, that PDF. Switch that over here to the screen. So in this document, we go through a plan summary, which kind of gives like a narrative of what the process was looked like, and some of those big philosophical questions I think that we were trying to answer about a community that has been like many communities in Massachusetts, right? We have high cost housing, an aging population, divisive local politics. So how do we think about where the library fits in, and in continuing to stay true to its core values and deliver high quality library services? And then we have in the plan trustees and governance, the folks who worked on this, and then at the end, pending approval, this will be updated in your final copy. We have the mission, the new mission statement, and then the vision and core values, which remain. And then our 3 strategic areas of focus in each one has 4 goals underneath it. So customer convenience and personalization, community learning and engagement, and then library as space and place, And then at the end, we included the methodology, which talked about which sort of, gave you the overview at the top of how this plan was constructed. So we, on behalf of the committee, present this to you. And I'm happy to answer any questions or any feedback, or if Amy or Michelle would like to add anything.
I'll just quickly pop in and just say that first of all, thank you, Maura. This is really great work, and we're very pleased with the results. Also, this is something that will be a voting item at the August meeting. We vote this in and file it approved. I believe the chair signs off on it with the MBLC. Maura's here to answer any questions. Obviously, if we need to make any major changes before we vote on it, or you vote on it in August, now's the time to ask them, and please ask away.
I have one question related to when you had the slide that showed the new and existing, or new and keep cards. What would be, you would say, the most significant change to, for example, the goals section compared to existing strategic plans?
That's a great question. I think these goals are really reflective of the changes in the community since that are been ongoing, but reflective of a commitment of the library staff to address some of those needs with our multi-language learners, or thinking about accessibility and inclusion in the library in much deeper and focused ways than were reflected in the plans previously. Which I did spend some time with the plan before, but I think it is reflective of some of the changing aspirations and themes that emerged from the engagement that we did with the community.
Thank you.
Can I, if you don't mind me adding on to that, when we first started talking about this, which was actually last November, the leadership team and some other people, we went over the FY 21 to 25 plan, the current plan that we're winding down. And that was really a very new type of plan. The library hadn't had a plan like that on, for those of you who were here when we brought it on. It was very actionable. And those 3 areas of focus have been something that as a group, as a staff, we've really been able to hold on to, and really has really kind of resonated with a lot of the staff. So we didn't want to throw out those 3 areas of focus, which is basically meeting people where they are, providing customized personalization services, educating and engaging with the community, and then focusing on the library as a space and place. So we wanted to keep those general, for lack of a better word, I guess, bumpers on the lane to keep us on the same goal. And I was very specific when we went out to talk to Maura about doing this, that we wanted to keep those areas of focus and update them according to those changes that we've learned about from all the surveys. So that might help as well.
Thank you, Amy.
Can I raise a stupid issue? On page 6, strategic areas of focus, you have 4 goals listed. 2 of them start with a verb, support, continue and develop, but the second one begins with a noun. Can we make that parallel? Is that possible? So that they all start with either a verb or a noun?
Are you talking about library as a space?
Goal 2.
Goal 2?
Foster? Yeah.
Foster the.
Foster library as a space to address, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great, I can update that language.
You're not on the right page, actually.
Oh.
It's page 6.
It's in our packet.
In our packet, it's 6.
Yeah, she's-
the
that's it.
correct
That's right.
one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Goal number 2.
2.
I can make that change and you'll see that reflected.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry for being an English teacher.
I appreciate it.
Have these goals been presented to the library staff as a whole? Just curious from a non-leadership perspective, what the feelings are.
Not yet. But as Amy said, when we spoke about this in November, as a leadership team, the leadership team is sort of representing their staff, and I think we're going to find that the staff will appreciate it. We're already starting to work on some of these, and it'll just allow us to continue it and expand. So,
So the staff is already doing some of the stuff?
yes,
Even though they don't know it's in the plan?
yes,
Okay, so they're sort of ahead of the curve,
yes,
as usual here.
yes,
To be expected.
yes.
Exactly.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll just also add too that the sessions that Maura had were with the staff were fantastic and really well attended. And the last time we did a strategic plan, we did it during COVID and everything was remote, and it was much harder to get that sort of intimate feedback and camaraderie. And when the notes that she took, the feedback I got after those sessions were the staff really felt engaged. They felt they had a say in what was going on. It was a really positive thing. And so I do think that we're going to find that many of these objectives are kind of word for word from some of the things that came out of that. So, but Andrew, to your point, we will have a meeting once it's all together. The group that Maura talked about at the beginning, which included Monette, who's on this call, Jamie Penny was who's the head of our collection services, and Olivia is the head of our children's team, and then Michelle and me. And it's a really good team sort of getting the public services, administration, and collection services. And then obviously with Monette, we got some trustee perspective as well.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, I will, if I may just follow up on that. I think, my goal is really that this is your plan and it is personalized, and hope that, especially with staff who will be implementing this, and as a former library staff person who has implemented strategic plans, is definitely thinking of, my experience was in my head when starting to draft these goals. But my goal in this is really a plan that feels personal, and that when people read it, they may say, oh, that maybe is exactly, and some of this is language that was pulled from those sessions that we did, from those Post-it notes that folks wrote on and we stuck on the walls, or the ideas and themes. So I think that when staff read it, they'll see that their participation is built. This is what the plan is made of, is their participation as well as the other community engagement sessions.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? And then I have 2 comments, Mr. Chair. First, on the community engagement, you talked about the 4 focus groups, the older residents, pair, municipal employees, and the multi-language. So that included patrons? So that was outside. So apart from the data gathered from various surveys that were off the shelf, there were specific new conversations with patrons.
Yes, I'm sorry. There was actually 3 focus groups. That was my area. But yes, we did have conversations with patrons.
Were those conversations, like you were walking through the library and you struck up a conversation with someone, or were they organized?
They were. They were organized. So they were invited. Folks were invitations went out, folks were invited with opportunities to RSVP for times. We did kind of, as you can see in the methodology, we had, older adults, different kind of population groupings, but if people weren't able to attend that one, they were welcome to attend another one in its place. And we went through, I had a series of questions to help facilitate conversation with the attendees.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right.
Let's follow up on your questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I mean, I do think this is very flexible and clear, and it can be used, and I do like the simplified nature, but yet it has teeth and specific. That said, so I can raise two things I don't like about it. The two things I would just point out, one, which is going to be unpopular at this table, one of the strategic plans or goals is continue the library landscape project. Agreed. First, that bullet point is implement the recommendations. Well, we don't have recommendations yet. We don't know what they're going to be. So I'm a little uncomfortable with that. And especially with the second point on secure funding to enact the proposed recommendations, it has been my understanding that ad hoc committee, part of that purview is to determine availability of funding. And I think the library is here for a resource to look at that and look at grants and other options. But I wouldn't want to tie a plan to something we don't know what it is anymore. So that's my comment on goal 4. Goal 2 on diversity, while I personally don't have an issue with it, as to the makeup of the board and the language about recruitment, that's kind of up to the residents and the voters. So that kind of stuck out at me as well.
Which one was that?
That's goal 2 on the same page under library as a space and a place. So it's talking about increasing the diversity both for staff and the board, which I think is admirable. And with a changing community, you want to make sure people are here who can, speak Portuguese, for example, right? And to handle that, I just think that the board is a little different from staff in terms of who makes those decisions.
You have to get elected first.
Got to get elected, right?
You have to run first.
So I'm just going to jump in here, if it's okay, Maura and Amy, on this. Pat, 100% understand what you're getting at here. I just want to, and this might be splitting hairs here, but it's creating a recruitment plan to cultivate a pipeline. It's not saying we're tying ourselves to a goal of making sure we elect a diverse board, because we don't have control over that, like you're saying. We don't have control over a community vote, but we certainly do have the ability to actively reach out to different groups and populations within town when there's an open board member and educate people that there is an open seat. Where right now, I would argue that's not what we do. I mean, the Friends hears if there's an open seat, it's published in the Chronicle, and each of us probably tells people we know. But we could do a way better job of getting it out within the community and within diverse groups. There's an open seat, and please consider it. And these are all the reasons why. Here are current board members who are happy to speak to you and answer questions that you might have if you want to better understand what it's like to get involved. But I see this more as us taking an active role in outreach and education. That's how I interpret this.
Thank you, Mona. I think that sums up what we were thinking about with this goal. And I also think tying it to the recommendations that were in that DEI plan as well.
And going back to Pat's comments about the library landscape project, I don't think that we expect the library to implement the plan whenever it's figured out. We don't even, as Pat said, we don't even know what we're going to do yet, because it's it came in very different than we expected in some ways. And I don't think, because we don't intend to have the community fund it, I'm not sure that the library will actually be implementing the plan anyway, or any portions of the plan. And I don't believe that we think that it will be the library's responsibility either to secure funding for it. I think we feel that that will be the responsibility of the committee to do. I don't think we expect the library staff to use their time and talent to do that. I think we expect this committee or a subsequent committee after it to do that, not the staff itself.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Cherry. And I think the key thing is that, well, there's two things I'll just quickly say is that number one, I agree with you about the funding. This is not necessarily stuff that the staff is going to do. This is as an organization and institution, what the library trustees and the library staff are going to work towards. So one thing we could do is put in, and we've done this in past. It was sort of you know, an example from the. We can put in the words that are a little more like feasibility, investigate, support, you know, that kind of thing. We could probably with a little bit like that. So I'll just remind you, as one of the things from our last strategic plan was to look into the feasibility of having a generator installed here at the library so that we could be a backup station for whether it's, you know, an emergency response or anything like that. And I worked very closely with the fire chief and I worked with facilities and we investigated the feasibility and we determined that it wasn't feasible. And so it's okay to have things in the strategic plan that are, you know, I guess I would start with, does the board agree that we need to do something with the landscape project at this point? You know, whether it's just, you know, a $10,000 plants or, you know, that we get through donations, or is it something bigger? So by having the goal 4 on there in some form, we are to continue to move forward with the landscape project. I personally feel like at this point, that's probably it's a good plan. We could definitely work on the objective language so that it's lighter. You know, maybe it's to support funding efforts, maybe putting in there something more about how the fact that this is all meant to be non-taxpayer funded project. So we could probably do that. The second thing is, and I will say this about funding, is, as I mentioned, if there are grants for which we can apply, to have something in our strategic plan that says we are determined and we feel that based on a landscape survey, which Maura has looked at, based on feedback from, you know, people just visiting the library saying, gee, it would be really great if you had a better outdoor space. We would like to apply for a grant or for funds. And look, here it's in our strategic plan. It increases our likelihood of getting grant funds or something like that. And in that case, yes, the library would actually apply for those funds because the library would be the client. So I strongly recommend keeping something in there about the landscape project. You probably soften the language, but the answer to any of these things in any strategic plan can be no, hard stop. We're not going to be able to do it for whatever reason, so therefore we're changing our strategic plan. You know, pivoting. So
maybe we can rephrase it to say work with the ad hoc library landscape committee.
I think it's just the, for lack of a better word, the intensity of the language, the implement and secure.
Yeah.
It's the verb. I have no problem with the goal.
Right, I agree
The
with
verbs and the 2 bullet points.
the verbs and
So,
bullet points.
like the last bullet point under 3, investigate the feasibility of that phrase. I'm fine with that. I didn't like something, a strategic plan that has the, basically saying we're going to do something that we haven't decided to do. But I agree, it should stay as a goal.
I mean, the way it's written now, it states that we're going to agree with anything that the ad hoc library landscape committee
How dangerous that would
proposes,
be.
which, I mean, I don't distrust the committee.
Glad you didn't spit the water on me.
But yeah, I think slightly softer language would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yes, well, I can, I made some notes and we can soften that language for sure.
I also have a question back on the statement that Mr. Egan had mentioned, goal 2. We were talking about, where Manette had mentioned the board recruitment plan, speaking to the bullet point before it. Could you explain what you meant by developing a succession plan, et cetera? Just the succession plan part.
Yeah, I think thinking about when there are like planning for cycles of staff. If there are openings or new positions added, what steps would need to be taken to start to, put a plan in place that would allow for the recruitment of qualified potential staff members to help fill that position. So I think it can also be thinking about retirements, or if and when there is an unexpected opening because somebody moves, or some circumstance change, that there is an actionable things about what maybe that can happen to that position. Maybe it might be tweaked to meet a new need in the community, focused on a population, or a specific language recruitment, or skill set rather. So really thinking about maybe in a simpler way of like, if there is an opening, not being like, rushing to be like, what are we going to do? How are we going to fill this? What can we do? But really thinking strategically over the next few years, if there are openings, how to fill those in a way that can help support the priorities in this plan, and be reflective of what the community, continue to be reflective of the community as well.
Cappy, I'll just say that's a great summary, Maura, and I'm guessing some of these came not only from the DEI thing, but from conversations with senior leadership members who Maura met with individually. I will say that when COVID hit, we were not prepared for the amount of transition that we had to go through, right? We had a lot of retirements, and we were essentially doing what Maura said, which is, okay, we just need to have a new head of this. We need a new librarian. Since that point, I think we've been able to develop something that is, quote unquote, a succession plan, where when we have an opening, we scan for gaps. Is it the fact that would it be nice to have someone who speaks Portuguese or Spanish on our staff? Yes, and maybe we include that in the job description. It's never been included in a job description before on anything. So I think that succession plan also includes, so that's one aspect of it, is really looking, us taking the time to do those scans and thinking about what the community needs, what the organization needs, what the team needs, and working our way down from the 10,000 foot to sort of the more granular. And in terms of succession plan, it kind of goes the same way in terms of want to really balance retention and internal growth with making sure that we're not stale and doing the same thing that we always do because we've always done it that way. So for me, when I see this, it's what do all of our leadership team members, what do each of them individually need to get to a next step, whether that next step is here at this library, whether it's at another library. And so this succession plan, I think, is really important to it, but also the strategic, I think it's two aspects of the same thing. And the strategic recruitment, putting aside money to make sure that we are putting our advertisements in the Black Caucus postings and Reforma, which is the Latina, Latinx boards, changing. We did not do that 5 years ago. It was always just MBLC and Simmons, and that's who we advertise through. Finding new ways. So I think it's important that this one particularly is a little passion piece for me, because we don't do a lot of discussion in our strategic plans about the development of our staff. And it is really important that we think about how we grow staff-wise in an organization. So I appreciated Maura putting that into the.
Amy, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
And really for you or Maura or Michelle.
Me, by the way. Go ahead.
On that point, I mean, I know COVID was unique, but I think planning around makes a lot of sense. But what I'm wondering is, obviously you have a lot of long-term people who have always been here, who, obviously a lot of retirements over the last 5 to 7 years. But you still have, you have, I'd say, a good portion of staff that I'd say would be long-term and then a lot of new faces within the last couple of years. Are you seeing trends among more recent hires, not here per se, but maybe industry-wide, where people's tenure is shorter? That you can expect, like, listen, getting a good 5-year run out of person who focuses on collections here, that's kind of what's common now. You hear a lot about it in schools and school administration about, oh, they've only been here 4 years, but then you look at every town and this, people jump around. Is there an increase of shorter spans at library? And is this, that would just underscore like more planning, obviously, but.
Right. I think there should be, number one. Number two, yes, I think we will sort of see that because of stagnation that we have. And the only way to get improvements, obviously, is to go to another municipality and get the job, the next step job. That I think we're going to see more and more of that happening because we see that in the municipal sector in general. You're not going to see town managers that last for 30 years. You're going to see town managers going for 4, 5, 6 years and, maybe then taking a leap to something else. So you're seeing it from the top down, right down to the clerks and things. Well over 60% of our staff right now, I believe, are new, are less than 5 years. So we have a lot of people that are less than 5 years. Not necessarily in libraries, but new to us. So I think we are going to see that. So it's sort of being a little predictive and assuming that this is going to happen. Having said that, Michelle's been here 21 years. I've been here 20 years. So there's definitely a few of us old fogies around. But I think it's wise to plan for both people coming into the field from other things. This last round of applications, probably we got 20 something. And I feel like maybe a quarter to a third of them were teachers, just sort of cold calling, like, I'm done with teaching. I'd like to be a librarian now. And we hadn't seen that number of those kinds of applications, so I'd say there were like 4 or 5. I guess maybe that's more like a quarter to a fifth, but yeah. So we saw 4 or 5 applications from teachers who are they're done teaching and they want to be in a different environment. So I expect to see more of that going forward. People just looking for a change, especially if they already have some sort of municipal experience.
Question also, do we have any sense of how many people from diverse backgrounds are actually going into library school?
It's very small, but
so getting diversity won't be all that simple.
But I think what we're talking about when we talk diversity is we're looking beyond race, right? So we're looking.
Understood.
Yeah. So we also look at things like, gender identity and, religion and ethnicity and, language and things like that.
But do we find people going to library school who fall into those other categories?
Yeah, and I think some of them actually are just able to now in 2024 actually be able to discuss those forms of diversity and the forms of their background and neurodiversity and all the positive things that we get from those things, whereas before it was just sort of just send in your application and try to look just like everybody else or try to act like everybody else, or try just to behave the same way everybody else does. And so I think providing a space, and that goes right down to the language and what we use, running it through gender, running things through gender bias. All of our job descriptions a couple years ago were extremely heavily female gender biased. We're trying to make them more neutral. It's still a huge percentage of people going into library science identify as female. So it's not going to make more male identifying folks join the crowd, but it might make a job description that seems better to an applicant. So I think there's a number of things that we can do. It's not a one and done, and it's certainly not a single silver bullet that's going to do this. Like I said, it's what you post, where you post it, who you decide to interview, the form of what, how the space that we create during an interview. So those are all things that we individually and also as a team can work on improving.
And one of the things too is starting, younger. So having an opportunity to have high school students intern here and see that libraries aren't just, I'll use the term that you used, Amy, we're not just old fogies. We're doing a lot of interesting things, and that will also help cultivate this new generation of librarians and library staff.
Can I ask, what is the process for reviewing this? I know we're talking about voting on this in August timeframe. For this evening, what is the expected output of the Board of Trustees, other than to ask questions, just so I'm clear that we're doing all we should be doing?
I think, you've had some really great questions. Maura's taken some notes. You're welcome to, I can send out Maura's contact information if you would like to contact her with specific corrections and or changes. It does not have to be voted in on August. It needs to be voted in on September because I need it by September because it needs to be submitted by October 1st and it needs to be approved before October 1st.
Okay.
So, I guess we're looking to fine tune this. It sounds from everything that I'm hearing that it's generally a thumbs up. There's just a few little things that we want to work on. There may be a couple that someone hasn't mentioned, although it caught their eye. So perhaps we could say something like by August 1st, which is within a week of our August meeting, all changes and suggestions are sent to Maura. We can do a red line version and discuss it in September. August to either vote on or to delay until September, depending on how many changes there are.
Thank you. I think it's great. It's wonderful. I like how it clarified a lot of things, yet still supported the original tenets of the last strategic plan while expanding on them, which I think is great, yet simplifying, especially in the sort of equity and access pillars, for lack of a better word. But yeah, I think some time to really dig into it would be helpful. But thank you, both Maura and the rest of the team, for developing this. I think it's wonderful. Does anybody have any more questions related to the strategic plan at this time?
No, great presentation.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Maura.
Thanks, Maura.
Oh,
And
thank
Amy,
you.
and Lynette, and Jamie.
And Olivia, yes, thank you. My pleasure. Amy can share my contact information. I think August 1st works. If you want to, if any feedback, and we can update the language, soften where it needs to be done. But anyways, thank you so much for your time and your really thoughtful questions and engagement with the process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Excellent, lovely. The next item on the agenda this evening is the financial report. So I believe that is.
You're muted, Amy.
That's me. Thank you. Thanks for working through all that. And I really appreciate your time. It's something that seems small, but it means a lot. And we put a lot of work into it. So I appreciate it. The financial report, you have your normal financial report spreadsheet, and we're doing fine. I just will note that it's not the final close. There's a payroll that's not on there, and there's also the warrant that you have in front of you that's not on there. And we are closing it down as soon as possible. Megan is being phenomenal as usual, making sure we've caught all the invoices from FY24. It's very it can be a little confusing because sometimes the invoice will arrive in late June, but it's for a service that we receive starting in July. And so we have to pay that. And then there's other things that accounting wants paid. So she works very well with accounting. They know what they're doing and they're working on the year-end close. I guess usually that'll come in August, sometimes early September, but they try to close the year and then open up So we'll know exactly how much we spent. We will make our materials budget requirement, which is hooray. And we will be returning money, I know for a fact, on our salaries because we had so many staff transitions. But very quickly, I just wanted to note that in June we had a couple our regular cash donations, and the Women's League donated some items worth with a value of about $1,000. They're called Tony's, which is an audiobook thing.
Everybody's waiting for those.
I know. It's a big deal.
Everyone.
So
I'll tell you how many times I've been asked
we
about
were
that.
excited to get them, trust me. And then we had the Young Women's League who sponsors the Equitarian Pass. More importantly, I did want to just pass along that we did receive a bequest from the estate of Lawrence J. Stiles. And received it in June. I actually only received the notice in April or May. It was late, and usually those things take a lot longer to clear. But we did receive a bequest. There was no specific things. It goes into our general gifts funds from Lawrence J. Stiles. I don't know if any of you know who this person was. I ran some searches. I couldn't find any.
I know a little bit about him.
Please share.
Larry Stiles went to the Methodist Church. He lived on Mark Avenue. He was single, as I think. He was. I would guess that if he passed away recently, my guess would be he must have been in his 90s or close to it. He was a very nice guy, and I think people generally liked him. I believe he lived with his mother for like forever.
Yeah.
And took care of her. And then I believe he went to Brooksby. I think that's where he lived.
Okay.
Yeah, he was just a nice guy, and I don't know much about him except that.
He looked to be a long-term resident. I mean, obviously,
He was.
Yeah, long-term resident. His name came up in a bunch of blood drives and some charitable things, and so I didn't see his name on any other donations or anything. But we did send an acknowledgement to the estate, to the attorney, and asked them to pass along our thanks to anybody if there was any other family members. So that was a little bit of a nice surprise. Also included in your packet is the FY25 warrant schedule. Again, thank you, Megan, who meticulously goes through the warrant schedule that we get from the town and tries to match it up with things like our meetings and then the ones that you do in between the meetings. There's a couple issues. Looks like there's 4 notes that have to do with holidays and when things are due. I will just remind you that we run our warrants pretty much every other week. The town runs them every single week. So I give you this wonderful schedule, hope that you're around and you can make notes of, when you might need to stop by the library. There may be, in an emergency case, it's been a while since we've had one where we do an extra warrant on one of these days that are not listed because we just need to get something paid by a certain amount of date or whatever, for whatever reason. But to try and accommodate your schedules, we try to do one at your meeting and then 1, 2 to 3 somewhere between that meeting. So you're only in here twice a month to sign for the warrants. But they do a warrant every single week. We just don't make you come in every single week to sign them. And some of them would be quite small warrants, actually, as you know. We have a few big ones, but then a lot of them are not that big. So please take that, print it out if you need it. We can always send you a backup copy if you need one. And it just gives you a sense of when you're around, or if you're not going to be around, then we'll know that we can chase down everybody else for those signatures, because it's really important that we get those. And that's all I have for financials.
Thank you, Amy. Next on the agenda was the director's report.
Yep. So just, it's the standard director's report. We have our statistics. The lockers are back up and running. We're very excited. If you take a look on the outside, you'll also see that staff member Alyssa Landau and Valerie Gould Heighthouse did their little crafty magic, and it actually looks a little more intuitive that you have to lift the little blocks again. So we're hoping to get back to, we just had 25. It's been a soft launch back into it, but we're hoping to get back to, we'd like to see that number be about 100 uses per month. So we'll probably do a drive, probably starting in the fall as the weather gets colder and we get through summer reading and things like that. Nothing really spectacular in our general statistics. I just will note that we have a lot of volunteer hours because we have the intern Sophia for Albert, and so she puts her hours in there as a volunteer hour. So I'm really excited about. I won't go out through every bullet point on the collection programs and services, but this LOTE for Kids, which stands for languages other than English, is a really big deal. We're very excited. It has over 4,000 books, and these in 65 languages. And these languages are not just translations of what we think are really great books that are in English. They are often books in languages and from cultures, from the native language and cultures. So it's really nice for folks to have, for not only for kids to have that exposure, but also sometimes there are adults in their lives who, you know, find familiarity with that and find it very reassuring. And it's a really big addition for support to our multilingual families. And also the speaker series, Andrea checked this number a bunch of times because she couldn't believe it. But once we launched the portal, we had like 2,000 views through the website portal, and many of them were the recorded events. So someone, you know, people found it and then they sat and watched multiple events as well as the live ones. So we're just really excited to have that going, and already it's showing that it's a really valuable resource. And then I think you mentioned the Tonys. The Tonys are a type of audiobook in which cartoon figures actually read the stories. I have a feeling that collection is going to grow. And other than that, like I said, we had over 20 applications for a children's position. Interviews start this week. And Megan Clemente has a 2-year anniversary this month. Yay, Megan.
Yay.
And Valerie has her 6-year anniversary this year as well. And then there's that, again, our selected list of, you know, really interesting stuff that everybody here is learning, and there's just a lot. So that's it.
Every time I've come here, somebody's been in the coral reef room taking pictures.
Yeah, it is so popular.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, that needs to be never leave or something.
I know. Well, we own all of it, so I think
Right.
we own all of it, so.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the June 10th, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any suggestions, changes, questions about them? If not,
I move to approve the June 10th, 2024 minutes as presented.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Nope.
We got to do a roll call vote, don't we? Okay. Sherry?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Burnett?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So
I vote.
approved, 5-0. And next on the agenda are future agenda items. For August, we have, and I assume, Amy, you're going to clarify this, the state of the collection report, meeting room update, meeting room policy, and tutoring policy.
Yeah, so state of the collection is just Jamie, our head of our collection services, will come and she'll give you an update. She'll kind of round up all the statistics that I provide for you each month to give you a big picture. You know, how much did we get? How much did we get rid of? What circulated? That kind of thing. Tutoring policy, at this point, I think there are some small changes, but there's not a lot. But it's queued up. We'll know in another week or so whether we have actually any substantive changes. And what was the other thing?
Meeting room stuff, which is
Meeting
interesting
room.
because that was
Michelle, that's
also.
Michelle.
That's
Yeah, we
Michelle.
do.
Because that was in the strategic plan as well,
Yeah.
to expanding it, and I'm wondering if that's related to the
I
changes.
think right now it's just looking at the statistics and probably getting a review. I don't know that we're in a place right now in FY25 to really change that immediately, but Michelle, I don't know if you want to say anything to that.
No, we're just, there's one thing that we were looking at. some libraries require you to show proof of insurance, and so we're looking to see if a lot of libraries do that. It would be a real,
What type of insurance?
I don't, like, just insurance,
Liability?
yes,
My car insurance?
yes, and so we're just trying to find out if that's even something that we need to add.
Does the town have it?
Does the town have it?
I mean, would it include us if the town has it?
We would be covered limited by the town, but I think it's just more, and
it's-
actually the schools require it. I think if you,
I just don't know what kind of insurance I'd need. Like if I rented a meeting room and
I mean,
yeah,
if something bad happens, we'd be liable because it's in our building.
that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to investigate.
Yes, that's what we're trying to find out, exactly. So that's really the big thing.
interesting.
The other thing you should know is that we are changing our room reservation software. So we will be doing that within the next few months.
And getting a new app.
And we're getting a new website.
I was about to say, I was going to ask about the website, but
Yeah.
we'll put that on future agenda.
Yeah,
Is
that's
we-
definitely in process.
Yes, we're hoping by the end of August to be live with the app.
That's great.
Working on that right now.
Excellent. Great.
Are you going to be
And-
able to reserve meeting room space on the app?
Yes,
So you'll be
Yes.
able to actually be able to reserve meeting room space from the app, and you'll be able to register for events, and we'll add it to your calendar from the event. So we're doing this integrated thing with a company called Communico, they do the app, they do what's called attend, which is for your events, and reserve, which is for your room reservations. They're tied together. And the last thing they're going to do is give us a framework for our website, which we are needing to scale down. Our intention is to scale it down, make it much more simplified.
if you wanted to see an example, Wilmington, they're currently using the app and the website, and I think they're using the room reservations too. So Wilmington,
God, I think we looked.
it's nice.
Would we be able to, Michelle, would you be able to give us a demo before it goes live?
I might be asking for your input, so,
That's what you did last time.
yes, so
Yeah,
beta
the tester.
testing, yes,
Great.
so,
I will say the old app is now working well for me.
I know, me too.
Like 6 months it didn't.
I agree 100%. And all of a sudden the other day, it's like, wait, this never worked.
How I figured it out,
so
Michelle.
nice.
I agree.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Can always improve.
yeah,
Well, let's just say if I can work the app, anyone could. I mean, I haven't tried it yet, any of them, so, but if I can figure it out, it would be perfect.
the staff are really looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good thing, exciting.
Great.
Other stuff, library landscape committee recommendations, I know we are working through. And then select board ad hoc, Bill Russell. Pat, you actually commented on that.
I just commented that I knew the select board approved the committee, of which I don't know the official name, but one of the future topics, and I don't know if it's even a board issue, because either the library or the trustees select somebody, but I don't know if it's a board thing or not. So I just kind of flagged it.
Right.
And as far as I know, nothing else has happened since that initial vote, but somebody in this room is going to have to make a decision, or somebody at this meeting. So just to look ahead on that.
So, are there any other future agenda items anybody would like to add? No, not tonight?
No.
All right. Then, I believe we are all done. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Egan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Sherry?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Monette?
Yes.
I'm a yes. We adjourn as of 8:15. Thank you guys very much. You
Enjoy your
Thank you.
vacation.
Bye.
guys must be on
Enjoy your views.
vacation. Enjoy wherever you are.
Nice job, Cappy.
Thank you for your hard work.